Like I just need theater to take over all the news stations, and that would be great. Mitch, I know we are looking for a working title, but we cannot name the podcast The Business of Theater Rhubarb, Rhubarb, Rhubarb.
Especially because only people my age would know what we're talking about.
I thought this was the most interesting thing when you told me, and so I was like, I think there's probably other people who have vaguely heard of this or are not sure or like heard it once and they're like, oh yeah, I know. Yeah,
Well,
no,
and
you tell.
it's something that people should use because it's
Hmm.
very helpful. Only the older people I know in theater seem to know this, and the reason we're even bringing it up
Well,
is
let
I
me
was
get
in a
through the intro first.
that what that
Let me
what.
get through the intro first.
Oh, go ahead, finish it.
All right, everybody. This is The Business of Theater, a working title. I'm Darnelle Radford.
I'm Mitch Weiss, Rhubarb,
And,
Rhubarb.
and let's get down to rhubarb. Because
Okay, it
it's
would
a
not
root
have.
vegetable and it's down in the basement.
There you go. And it would not have come up if I wasn't in rehearsal and I told the cast, okay, at this moment we just needed everyone to do rhubarb, and they looked at me like I was crazy, except for the two older actors in the room who knew exactly what I was talking about. And so I thought, and I asked around, none of the younger actors had ever heard of it.
Mm,
So I think that's a loss, and this is our duty, Darnell, you and I, to teach our audience what rhubarb is about.
yeah.
So here's how it goes. It's very simple. When a director says, I need some crowd noises, or I need you to react to what someone just said, but I don't want to hear you make up a line and that interferes with the dialogue. All we were always told to do is everyone in the background, if you're in a dining hall, if you're in a ballroom, and you just want to have some noise that there's liveliness going on, you just all say rhubarb, 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 and you just try
Rhubarb,
variations.
rhubarb, rhubarb,
Yeah, you get it
rhubarb,
louder, a little lower, different
rhubarb.
accents on it,
Rhubarb. Rhubarb.
and no one
Rhubarb.
knows what you're saying, but it all sounds like dialogue.
It's fun. I'm gonna say this when I'm over the conversation I'm currently in.
Right now.
In general, rhubarb, rhubarb, rhubarb,
Yep.
rhubarb. You okay? Yeah,
Yep.
rhubarb, 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 rhubarb.
So I'm happy to pass that along to the next generation.
It's a good. I don't know. It might be a good exercise too, in terms of like just loosening up your lips.
Yeah, it makes your mouth
Rhubarb,
move.
rhubarb, 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 rhubarb.
But it really works well when you have a complete chorus or any sort of group party,
Yeah.
and you just don't want anyone's conversation to interfere with the main characters. So, but it sounds like you're having a conversation.
Yeah. And so, as far as you know, this has been used for.
I learned it. I learned it in ninth grade in high school from my drama teacher,
Uh-huh.
and the first time I worked on Broadway, they used it.
Yeah.
They all knew how to do it.
A quick search online claims that attributed around 1852.
I'm not that old.
The practice by the theater company of English actor Charles Keane at the Princesses Theatre in London.
Wow.
Actors saying the word rhubarb repetitively to mimic the sound of indistinct conversation.
Oh, I like that phrase, indistinct conversation.
The word having been chosen because it does not have harsh sounding
You
consonants.
see, I am already obsolete. Google has it all.
Well,
We don't.
Google has AI, and when you're
Yeah.
searching for some historical knowledge, like you do take it with a grain of salt, but the fact that it spits it out so quickly, I think what's good is if you then double check, AI, like you don't just look at what the AI said it was, you see if there's supporting information, like where did
Mhm.
it pull it from? Because it's pulling it from it's data mining from the internet. So it is kind of helpful in terms of like point me in the right direction.
Yep.
Now where can I go? Yeah.
All right.
Um,
Anyway,
but
so that's lesson number one. Lesson number two. What else? What else can we teach our? Oh, the Edison Hotel, right? Diners.
Yes, so we're getting there.
Okay.
So there's been a well, we could talk about the diner. You wanna talk about the diner now or later?
Yeah, you're my leader, Darnell. Send us
Alright.
wherever you want.
I'm gonna stay on this trend. Okay.
Okay.
So there have been a lot of celebrations. We're here in the summer, and there
Yes.
have been a lot of, like, notable, benchmarks. So, for instance, last week, as you're listening to this, the week before, Hamilton had celebrated its 10 years on Broadway. They've spent this whole year promoting Hamilton, and it culminated in a fan design of the playbill, which they announced this special performance. And I think Leslie Odom Jr. is coming back to the cast.
He's in it already.
Oh,
He's in
he's
it.
in already? Yeah, for a run through November. Oh, no, it's been extended, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for an extended run. As long as you buy tickets, he might stay. So just keep buying tickets.
They're,
So
they're they're not having any trouble selling tickets. You
I don't
know,
know. This Hamilton is
no.
pretty risky. I don't know if it's a sure bet. I heard Jeffrey Sellers say something. No, he's
Yeah,
he's
right.
completely 100% behind. Yeah, so Hamilton celebrated 10 years, and kind of in this same era, we were talking about a chorus line, and a chorus line had reached a 50-year milestone. And there's just some interesting things, for us particularly because Mitch has a connection to a chorus line. And there was an interesting story he told me today about I'm gonna ruin this name.
Oh, Bjork?
By York
Bjork Lee.
by York Lee. By York Lee was the original Connie in A Chorus Line, and did many, many, many performances in the role. Also is affiliated with the National Asian Artists Project. I think I got that right. But also had like a unique uh,
But just to be
attachment.
clear, she created the National Asian Artists Project,
Yes, yes,
NAAP.
yes.
Okay.
And we'll have that link in there.
Hmm.
But Connie was so integral to A Chorus Line that
Mm,
you could tell this part.
okay. Well, when Bjork, besides the fact she's telling her story or a part of her story in a chorus line,
Mhm.
um, when Michael Bennett, the creator, director, choreographer, passed away, he gave Bjork the obligation, the responsibility to keep his choreography and direction of a chorus line alive throughout the world. Um, I guess I would consider that a privilege. I think she does too. Um, so she has been directing and choreographing all of the professional chorus lines around the world since then.
Mm.
She had she's just amazing, nonstop. So when it became the 50th anniversary, the John Brelio, who is the attorney for Michael Bennett, who technically owns all of the rights, he asked Bjork to put together a celebration, and she brought in all of the living originals, put them together with international cast members. They did a performance. They did a flash mob of the finale with hats in the on the plaza in front of Lincoln Center. They had parties. They had panels with. I think it was with the original Sheila, Donna McKechnie, the original Cassie, Bjork, and somebody else. I apologize, but they had panels people could go to, and all of the money that they raised from this went to the Entertainment Community Fund. So this was a charity event, and they spent a whole weekend. They had to fly people in. This basically reminded me of when Michael Bennett did what we called the 3389 performance, when Chorus Line became the longest running show in Broadway history, which was back in 1983. Um, it was the most spectacular. Michael had over 440 dancers on stage at one time.
Mm.
Everybody who had ever performed professionally in a chorus line around the world was invited to New York to be in one performance. And it was just, there's nothing in my life, or I think anyone else who saw it, nothing that comes close. Well, Bjork almost tried to recreate it.
Mm.
The reason we bring her up and celebrate her is because 4.5 days later, I was walking by the Edison Hotel, and in the lobby was a performance by 30 young people from the National Asian uh, Artist Project. I pray I'm getting that title right. Um, Performing songs from Mamma Mia and this Broadway show and that Broadway show. And Bjork was up there introducing them, dancing around, getting the audience to applaud with full energy, looking like she was at her own wedding. She looked spectacular. And this lady is, shall we say, has a certain level of age, if you can imagine being in a chorus line in 1975,
The
right?
lady of the grandest distinction.
And I just walked up to her and said, how are you doing this? I don't see a sweat. How did you leave one and come to the other? She said, I haven't slept yet. I'm still working on that energy.
Wow.
And my point, as you and I were talking, is this is what the line from Chorus Line, what I did for love, it's not a cliche. People get a job in an office. They then go to rehearsal and work for free for the reading of a new play. They then go out with people at night. Maybe they sing at the cabaret, and then they go to work the next morning, and then they do this, and then they do that. We just do this. We adore it. And here is someone who should be retired, living off of her laurels because she's done spectacular work. She just directed and choreographed Antonio Banderas in Spain doing a chorus line in Spanish. And the show's been running there. And she's done it in Japan and in China and all over the world. And she's still running around and working with young people and putting a choir together and figuring out what lobby of a hotel they can perform in for free. I mean, this is someone we need to celebrate. So that's my one singular sensation person for the day. I'm just in love with her. I am so honored to call her a friend. And as Donna McKechnie also. Donna McKechnie, oh my goodness. First of all, she looks like she actually came out and sang Music in the Mirror at this weekend. And she looked and sounded, actually, she sounded better than she ever has. And she can move and she can dance, and she was wearing the red dress and she looked spectacular. And I don't want to tell you her age, but most of us are dead by that age. And she has energy, and she just did Sweet Charity, and she just was in the Wicked on Broadway. She played a year in Wicked, one of the supporting roles. The woman doesn't stop. These are not the very famous people that, they're not the Hugh who. Look at me. They're not the Jake Gyllenhaals, the Denzel Washingtons. Come on, the Greatest Showman, Hugh.
Oh, Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. Oh, forgive me, audience. My brain was on Donna McKechnie. She doesn't have that fame.
That is called a brain fart.
There you go. But these Bjork and Donna, bless them, they just work nonstop, and they have still all the talent they had. Their voice hasn't lost. Oh, here's the other one who's part of the panel, Priscilla Lopez, who was the original Diana, who sang What I Did for Love in the original cast. She then went on. She was in The Heights. She ended up playing the grandma.
Wow.
Right, on Broadway. Yeah, I mean, so these people don't stop, and they look great. They take care of themselves. I'm going on and on and on. Shut me up. Let's move on to the next topic. Rhubarb.
These are all great stories. there's another little tidbit about a Chorus Line's 50th anniversary is that while there's a lot of footage that you can find online,
Uh,
it would have aired on PBS. Um,
that's right. That's right.
but the
And this,
show, yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead.
but the show had to be canceled because the government cut funding to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting a couple of days.
2 days before,
Mhm.
and that, of course, Bjork was in charge, and she just shook her head, said we were planning to let everybody see it,
Mm-hmm.
but they had to cancel because all their funding for the event was taken away.
Yeah, so terrible.
As if it doesn't matter. We understand it's what, point one of point one of 0.1% of some small budget that the federal government has,
Mm-hmm.
and you say, oh, who cares? They'll survive some other way. And here's what happens when
It's
they take it
unbelievable.
away.
But it also shows whether they have a commitment to arts in this country or not. And
Yeah.
we can all be cynical and say that they don't, and they show it with the choices that they make. It's like, I mean, the funny thing about it is, one of my colleagues said today. Let me see if I can find the conversation I had with her, because the quote was just a simple thing, but it was like, running a theater seems like the most nonsensical thing and the only thing that makes sense right now.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, and it's just like, I was like, wow, wow, you're right. I was like, we have to let our community, not just our community, but like all of these people who don't think theater is for them, to let them know like what
Well,
is missing without this vibrancy in our communities.
but you know what? There is a jealousy about this. There are many, many people I know who live outside of New York, LA, Philly, the major entertainment communities.
Hmm.
Uh, they, you have to know what you're missing.
Yeah.
And even if they saw some not so good version in high school of something, they, one, we have to make sure our regional and community theaters have enough money to perform quality theater so people really get to understand it. Because it's very hard going to see a 2 hour musical and it takes 3 hours because it's being done at your local church and it's hot, there's no air conditioning,
Yeah.
and you're just going because your aunt is in it. That's very different. And for the people who haven't experienced this, again, how do we help them? How do we let them know this is what makes life worthwhile? Not going to your job at Starbucks,
Hmm.
right? Starbucks, nothing wrong with having a job, but that's not what makes your life worthwhile. It's the emotion, the feeling, the excitement you get. And God forbid you're able to participate in the creation of one of these shows.
Yeah.
Those people in community theater that go to rehearsals 3 times a week after work, and they spend 3 months at it, and then they come in and they barely can remember their lines, and it's probably mediocre at best, but the experience they had putting that together, you can't top it.
Yeah. The way to love theater is to believe in magic.
Yeah, well, it is magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yesterday, I know I'm off topic. Yesterday I had somebody who does go to theater, because I was lucky enough, I worked on Beauty and the Beast, the original. And there's that magic moment where the beast rises up in the air and is twirled around in the middle of nothing. And all of a sudden, boom, his beast outfit is gone, and he lowers down and he is the prince. And he's dressed like a prince. How did they do that? Well, I know how they did that,
Magic.
right? I was there. And it's rather simple, but it's a nice magic trick.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people, if you want to know, I'm going to tell you. But you have to ask, because I don't want to tell someone who doesn't want to know.
Yeah.
If they have a child that needs the magic, I shut up. But for the adult who needs to know, this is why we do this, I will tell them everything.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So yesterday I got to tell a relative who said, okay, I've been waiting for 20 years. How did they do it? And I finally told them and went, oh, wow. Okay. I didn't think of that.
And
And that,
it's often so practical that when you
oh, yeah.
find out, you're like, "Oh my god." And, with simple lighting and, like, a little sleight of hand, like, you pointed us over there while this was happening, like, there's I feel like I always talk about, the production of Cinderella we saw
Hmm.
with Sherry Shepherd as the fairy godmother
Right.
and, Keke Palmer as Cinderella. And the thing is, like, the transition of Cinderella for the ball is chaos. There's
Hmm.
all this stuff's going on because, like, pumpkins are turning into carriages and mice are turning in, people are turning into mice and so on or something, or mice are turning into horses, or it's crazy. But it's that chaotic, but everything is moving around, but in a graceful, choreography that you don't even realize that, Cinderella has been pulled off to the side very quickly, and there's just sorta like some rustling behind the scenes, and then I think she does a twirl
It's
and
done on stage in front of us.
yeah, into this beautiful ball gown, and the reveal is just stunning, and anybody who's in that dress at the moment has
Well,
won the audience.
and my favorite costume change, Dreamgirls.
Mhm,
When it's not even one of the lead performers at the beginning of the show when they are performing as a backup
for
act
Jimmy.
for Jimmy. Michael Bennett had them walk down stage and they're singing as their little trio, and then he drops I'd say an 8 foot wide glitter curtain behind them.
Mhm.
They walk around the curtain and come through the curtain, and they're in a different outfit.
Yeah.
I, we all just went,
Yeah,
ah,
yeah,
and yet when you go back and the wardrobe people, you know exactly how they did that,
yeah.
and it's just brilliant. And that's what you get live, because if you see it in the movies, it's CGI. Of course, we know
Mhm.
how they do it. It's still magical,
Yeah.
but to see 100,000 warriors in Star Wars, there aren't 100,000 warriors in Star Wars,
Yeah.
right? On
Mhm.
stage, you're gonna have to show me how you did that.
I know, and it's so much more rewarding too because,
Yeah.
on TV, whether it's film or television, that there's, like, a lot of CGI. There's a lot of,
Hmm.
computer generated editing that they can do to pull these things off, and sometimes that's exciting too if the pace is right. But when it happens in real time and you're not even aware how many people are behind the scenes, like these scene changes, there's like several dressers, and sometimes that change is like, you know 15 seconds. Yeah, like, how are you gonna make this happen? They're back there, they're already ready. I remember, before I got as involved in theater as I am now, I remember, the performer Janet Jackson would do
Hmm.
these concerts that were, filmed for HBO, and, uh, she had a backstage camera where, she would go back to this spot where she was preparing for the next scene, and all her dancers are up front just doing choreography and, like, killing for time, but she's back there, like, getting everything done, and there's dressers taking off, her previous costume, putting on the new one. She's getting her makeup done, and they're like keeping her dry and like hydrated and everything. And it's so crazy how all that happens, and that happens on stages every night.
Yeah.
For multiple, people who have to make those dramatic changes, and then like, I, it's funny. So I remember my first musical that I was a part of was Fame, and I remember in Fame there was
You're
this.
such a baby.
I know. I remember in Fame there was a. Uh, I don't know. I guess you can call it a counterpoint. It's more like a chant where they're chanting that acting is the hardest profession in the world. And then the other group comes in and says dance is the hardest profession in the world. And then the other group comes in, music is the hardest profession in the world. And then they're kind of having this fight where they're talking about which one. But there's so many, like, if you ask any artist in theater, what is the hardest part of theater? they can't give you a straight answer because every element of theater production has its complexity and has its tough moments, but the execution when it succeeds is so
Yeah.
rewarding, and I
And then
think
you add to the fact that there are so many triple and quadruple threats,
yeah.
which just means that
Mhm.
they're the best at acting, singing, dancing,
Multiple things, yeah.
multiple things, right?
Mhm.
Gymnastics, uh,
Mhm.
languages,
Yeah.
it just goes on and on.
And
Uh,
you don't know where everyone's background you don't know everyone's background. Everybody comes with such unique, foundations to deliver whatever the needs are of a production. And I think that all of that is what makes all of this so unique as well. You can't like there are hardcore people who are like, "Oh no, it's the original cast and that's it." You know,
right.
because they laid the foundation for what you now remember. And so
Well, and
that
so many actors will certainly, because we work on so many new developmental works.
mhm.
So many actors will say, "All I've wanted in my professional life is to originate a role. So I'm not copying what somebody else has already
Mm,
done in a chorus line or carousel or Fiddler in the Roof. I am from scratch creating a new character."
yeah.
And that's their goal, which I get, although it's very tricky. I'm always amazed at somebody who does not perform. I'm mesmerized when I see somebody bring a new idea to a rehearsal, even if it's the wrong one. You just go, "Whoa, where did that come from?" And and my eyes open up, and all of a sudden, my perspective of that scene, that character, other people in the scene, and my world changes
Yeah.
because that actor is trying something new, and that I wouldn't have thought of.
Mhm.
It's brilliant, and we're unfortunately probably losing those people who don't. Well, they wouldn't be listening if they don't love theater, right?
Yes.
Anyway, um,
Um, so
it
we
19. I just want for the last thing want to bring up 1975-6 was an amazing season. Um, Pacific Overtures by Stephen Sondheim premiered, and that won 2 Tony Awards. A Chorus Line won 9 Tony Awards. That was the same year. And the original Chicago, starring Cheetah Rivera and Gwen Verdon,
hmm,
directed and choreographed by Bob Fosse, opened the same year. And that won no Tony Awards and closed. And now we look at Chicago, which is the longest running American musical in history, next to Phantom. Well, it's British. Phantom's British.
hmm,
Chicago is the longest running American. And it's still running.
so
But
this
they
one
had to revive it in order
hmm.
for it to get that, for people to start to appreciate it. And it
Ah.
had to open in a year that didn't have a chorus line.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what's been interesting about the look back because you know, uh they were talking about how the year that Avenue Q beat out Wicked,
Right.
but Wicked is still running strong and Avenue Q is celebrated, but like, isn't as strong as Wicked.
I disagree. It's just
Well,
not
in
on.
terms of like
It's not on Broadway.
didn't have the staying power on Broadway, yeah.
It is done. It's made so much money through subsidiary rights being done at professional theaters around the world. Don't cry for me, uh, Avenue Q.
Avenue
Right?
Q, yeah.
They are not suffering.
The truth is, you can be loud as the hell you want when you're making money.
We haven't done any singing. I heard just before we started the podcast tonight, I heard 2 versions of Circle of Life,
Mm,
Elton John's song
yeah.
from Lion King. And I have to tell you, whoa, am I going off tangent here? I apologize. But it's stuck in my head because you know how emotional that song can get,
Mhm.
even without the puppets
Yeah.
in the show. It's just an emotional song. Well, the U.S. Naval choir,
Hmm.
the Navy, which, by the way, doesn't have a single black person in it. I do not understand, nor a single that I can tell Latino. It looks all white except for, I think, 2 Asian people. Because, believe me, I was looking at the video on YouTube. I don't know how that happened. It didn't matter. They put these 3 women up front, and they, from their guts, brought the joy of this song and the choir. It just sounded like I was back at Lion King on Broadway with the emotion. And you're going, and this is the U.S. Navy?
Yeah.
It's like something, and they're in their white uniforms, and you're going, what doesn't work here?
Yeah.
And yet it was absolutely beautiful. So
Yeah.
I want to encourage people. That song is still stuck in my head, and that's what great theater does. That's all.
It really
We can
does.
move. Yeah.
Walking
Go ahead, Darnelle. What's next on your list?
What's on my list? Well, just some things that have been happening over the summer, that were in the news while we were out trying to take a breather because we work hard all year. We do.
Oh yeah.
So Broadway has a tax credit, right? There's this tax credit that they've been fighting for. It was a pot of like $400 million, and it's somehow out of money already. So
For this year, they've had the other years. It has been okay,
yeah,
but yeah, uh, and it's not probably with this administration not going to be renewed. And it came upon us as a surprise because the law says it's still in effect, but there's no money in the account to pay for it. So we're only halfway through the year. So all of these producers have budgeted and gotten investors based on the fact that there is a tax credit.
Yeah.
And now there won't be. It's not that there might be. There will not be a tax credit, even though it's still technically a law on the books. I guess I should. I don't want to get technical here, but a very quickie. Basically, what it means is if you spend a lot of money on sets and costumes and whatever you're putting your production on, these are for the big shows. You can write off some of that as this is just the cost of doing business. And there's a special budget because investors, when they lose their money on Broadway, they do not get tax breaks, unlike the film industry. If you lose money in the film industry, you can write it off your taxes. You cannot do that on Broadway. So they came up with this instead. And it's very complex. I think it's a 16-page single-space application form that requires you to hire additional accountants just to figure out how to fill out the form.
Wow.
It's awful, and people have complained about it. But at the end of the day, you're going, my investors want the tax credit on the show. They want to be able to get it. So you hire someone. So now the shows have hired the extra accountants, and the extra money that cost will not be given back to them with the tax credit. So there's a lot of discussion. How do we convince the state, the city, other people to come up with the variations of it? Do we get the federal government eventually to at least replenish some of it? The problem being is that if they replenish it next year, what happens to the shows that applied for it this year, but they're not going to get it? Shouldn't they be first in line to get it, but for next year? Like let it be delayed.
Yeah.
But nobody has the answer to that because we don't know who's in charge of making the law. It's not Broadway. We don't make the law.
These faceless policies.
So I don't want to go into more detail than that. I mean, not that I could, but luckily for some of us who didn't produce anything in this time period, it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's sad too because you can't call theater is not a utility, you know. But it is just as valuable, just as important. I mean, like, I don't know. What would we, I mean, we've said this before, what would we do in a world without theater, a world
Well,
without the arts in general?
but here's the problem, and I hate to talk against us.
Hmm.
What most non-theater loving people know that you and I won't admit is if they took away all the money and took away all the theaters and said you're on your own, we would
We would
still
figure it out.
do it.
Yeah. Hmm.
And that's what they're saying. Is they're saying you are willing, by your plea, you're willing to do all this work for nothing. So why do we have to worry about paying you? And that, we know we have to pay you to work at Starbucks because nobody wants to work there,
Yeah.
right? So that's the difference. We do it. What I did for love. Back to chorus line.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sing a little.
So when it
Kiss
comes,
today, goodbye,
this is how you
and
know I
point
am
me
not
toward
of a certain
tomorrow. We
Or-
did what we had to do.
There you go. Because Chorus Line was on stage 5 years before I was even born.
Oh, I want to curse at you. Except that you missed out.
Yeah.
See,
I
to
feel
me,
like I
being
did.
my age, it's worth it just to have lived, to have been in the balcony the first year it opened, and to sit there and to cry over something that had no connection to anything in real life. And to smile and to just walk out of there on a high and say, how do I pay for another ticket to come back? It just and Hamilton is a different fish.
Yeah.
I mean, I go back and it's phenomenal. It's not the same emotional thing. We're not emotionally tied to Hamilton about our theatrical lives.
Yeah.
Chorus Line was about our theatrical lives. So there was that different kind of connection.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
I mean, I was definitely emotionally tied to Rent.
That's your generation, and I wasn't.
And then I think of things like Spring Awakening. I was emotionally tied to that. Like, there was just, first of all, the music is just beautiful. And, the way the story unfolded and how that music, took us on that journey. I thought it was beautiful. Honestly, you can't go wrong with violins. I feel like if violins are in something, you're like, wonderful. I can hear more of this. Yeah, the other things on my list were just kind of fun. I saw a couple of articles where they talked to Lin-Manuel Miranda about great places to eat in New York in general, and I think it was because of part of the Hamilton things that there were these partnerships, and I think H&H Bagels
Right.
is one who I'm not familiar with. New Yorkers would be familiar with H&H. There's like a special bagel. There's like a Hamilton special that you can get. I don't know how long it is.
And forgive me, I'm the curmudgeon. That's a press agent who goes to H&H and he lives in the neighborhood and says, maybe you'll give me a free bagel if I connect you with Hamilton and we come up with an idea, and then you can go back to the office and say, see, this was worth my salary.
I heard Lynn likes this bagel.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, whatever.
And then I looked, I was like, okay, I thought that too. And then I saw another article in Forbes about where to eat after a Broadway show. And so I started thinking about, I was like, okay, there's some motive in who they're suggesting, but like, where do we go after a Broadway show? And so I thought that would be fun because you and I have known each other since 2013, I think.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's been a minute. And in that time we have broken bread quite a bit. And so I was thinking about also whenever I come to New York, when I come with my partner, I always tell him, I'm like, there's a handful of places that will never let me down, and so I just go to them, and so I don't have to think about, we're not going to eat in Times Square, we're not trying to find something in some crazy neighborhood. Like, this will not let us down.
Right.
And so, after a Broadway show, I'd say it's always a diner. It's a
If
diner, and it depends
it,
on where you are.
it just depends on the time during
Mhm.
the pandemic, because many of, if not most of the diners in New York used to be open 24/7.
Mhm.
And that was one of the keys because their menus are gigantic. Whatever type of food you want, they'll have it. It may not always be good, but they'll have it on the menu. And being that it was a late night place, you finish a show at 11 o'clock. If you're in the cast, you want to go out with friends, you want to stay out till 2 in the morning. You can sit at a table and eat breakfast all night long and sit there, and it's relatively a dime. And you can have
Mm.
liquor. They have liquor also. Um, but during the pandemic, they all shut down, and some of them never came back.
Mm.
But it's still the place. I hate to bring this up, but the last show we went to, which was the magnificent Buena Vista Social Club, I cannot more highly recommend it. We walked out of there and went, nah, let's go to the place we know we should eat, home. And we went home, right? And which is, we live in the Times Square area, so it's
Yeah.
a very short commute. But the other shows, yeah, you're right. You and I, we always, when you come to town, we start with lunch at a diner,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, when we first started, I was a student at NYU, and oh man, I forget about that eatery that we used to go to after class.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm not even sure it's
on
still
Wall
there.
Street, yeah. There was
Yeah.
this place that was like soup and sandwiches primarily. We would go
Hmm.
there and basically unpack the marketing class we were in, or the grant writing course that we were in. But then later we started going to the Theater Row Diner. Theater Row Diner was like the first one, and I think it was there until the pandemic, right?
It actually, the pandemic killed it.
Yeah.
It is now a liquor store.
Uh,
We're very sad because it was a favorite haunt of people in the theater industry.
yeah.
It's a very small place,
Hmm.
but
Right next to, a couple doors down from Playwrights Horizon.
and right next door to the Schubert's largest off Broadway theater, the Little Theater, is it called still? You know what? I don't even know what it's called anymore. But there's a theater right next door. Um,
Not Theater Row.
no, Theater Row is 3 doors down.
Okay.
The Theater Row theaters. Signature Theater is on the next block. It's an entire avenue, length of avenue of theaters, and this is right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So we used to go there, but they're gone.
Hmm.
Then there are two others that are still used for business.
Yeah.
Um, Westway Diner, which is on 9th Avenue between
Hmm.
43rd and 44th, and Galaxy Diner
Yeah.
on 46th and 9th Avenue.
Hmm. And every
Uh,
time we've gone in there, we've seen people,
oh,
like
absolutely.
notable people.
But we were talking about this. There is real business that are done in these theaters.
Hmm.
We're talking about people rent theaters and have meetings over contracts in these diners.
Yeah.
The original famous one was at the Edison Hotel, a diner.
Yeah.
Next door was the Edison Cafe, that was run by these. It had a nickname. In the industry, you'd say, "I'll meet you at the Polish,"
Mm.
because the family that owned it were Polish, and they were very proud of it. And so everyone, if Michael Bennett or Jerry Schoenfeld from the Schuberts or Hal Prince or anybody wanted a meeting, it's "I'll meet you at the Polish at 2 o'clock." And they had a special roped off table in which high priced deals could get accomplished. You could wave at people behind the rope, but you would never disturb them because they were at business. And it was there forever. They had the greatest soup. Oh my goodness, these people, the real old fashioned, really meaty, really juicy, gigantic bowls for like $2. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Mm.
and everyone knew everyone who worked there and who owned it. Um, so it was the place to go. And then, of course, I guess finances, someone bought it out, and the family got old and they retired and they took the money and ran.
Yeah. It's interesting how diners were that, and like places like Starbucks tried to be that for many people. Like there's a lot of writers who go to Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
There's some of their newer locations have an off like this room that you can ask to rent, and it's
Oh,
not
really?
rent, but you can ask to use, and it's basically like a community boardroom or something.
Wow.
There's one
Not here in Manhattan.
there's one here in Philadelphia. I don't know how many other stores have it, but I thought that was kind of clever. But not to praise the Starbucks, but just to say in general, when you know a place isn't going anywhere, it becomes your meeting space,
That's right.
your office, like your launch pad, like meet me here, like you know, um, for the longest time here, for example, Philadelphians, you'll know the Wanamaker building, which previously held Macy's, but has now vacated the space. There is an eagle sculpture or statue in the main area, and the phrase was "Meet me at the eagle,"
Ah,
and "Meet me at the eagle." And that was like a point of destination, and
hmm
so even though that Macy's is gone, we'll still be able to access the eagle. So that's kind of cool. But I wanted to end with us talking about where to eat, and even though I ended with the eagle, we ended actually with "Meet me at the Polish."
at the
So
Polish. That's
at the
right.
Polish,
And
yeah.
again, just like it's a good full circle. Just
Mhm.
like rhubarb,
Yep.
that phrase is as old as rhubarb.
Yeah.
Older people would absolutely know what we're talking about, and younger people will not. So
Yeah.
now they know.
That'll be one of the rejected titles. Meet me at the Polish. But anyway, that was the business of theater, a working title. I'm Darnelle Radford,
I'm Mitch Weiss.
and we'll see you at the theater.
Yay.